What's going on, everybody? This is John Jake Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with week 7 action of the inaugural season of the FCS Dynasty here on NCAA Football 06, one of the greatest college games ever created, and we got some great matchups on tap once again. We got 8 matchups in this game, most of which 5 of these games top 25 matchups. We got a couple of other top 25 teams, you know, like New Hampshire and McNeese State up in here, man. So really great episode in tap. I hope you guys stick around for the whole thing. And if you're excited for it, man, make sure you go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. If you have to be brand new to the channel as well, and shoot, even hit me up down in them comments as look at this tight end going ahead and rumbling and stumbling into the end zone. Touchdown, Akron. And how about this to get yourself going? A 53-yard touchdown pass. And we'll see if Buffalo can come ahead and respond. Now, we do also know that this is the first time that we've seen Buffalo in this series ever since the tragic events did end up happening in the city of Buffalo in real life. You know, sending those thoughts and prayers, obviously, to that community. What was a really disgustingly violent event that we shouldn't be okay with. So, you know, I had to talk about that on a real note. But getting back into the game, though, Akron, they set a tone in this game. They are setting a tone for sure. They are going to go ahead and jump to a 14-0 lead here, as Buffalo is going to go ahead try to respond themselves, but Buffalo just not necessarily bringing it to the table here in this first half, as Marcus Cannon, he's going to get his first interception of this ball game, trying to throw that thing into double coverage, and that's just not going to work a lot of the time. And it really showed there as well, as 3rd and 8, Ty Jones, he's going to launch an absolute nuke down the sideline. He's going to find his star receiver here. And we're here in the second half. Akron really starting to run away with it here. Up 24-0. It could balloon up to 31-0 potentially if they could just go ahead and take a knee, you know, show some good sportsmanship. But Akron, they run it up. They run it up a little bit on Buffalo. They throw on 3rd down, and they're going to get a touchdown out of it. So Buffalo does score on their final drive, but Akron come into play for sure. They win 31-7 here in this first game. So here's the hope, in the rest of the games in this episode have a little bit more of a competitive spirit as we check out this national broadcast game out on the West Coast. Definitely an earlier game here, as North Dakota State is getting ready to go ahead and take on fellow conference opponent Eastern Washington, as the Fargo Dome, you know, it's not completely filled up to the brim, but there is quite a few people in the crowd here today, as we're going to take a look at a quarterback for the Bison, Brian Alexander, who comes in and is playing very good mistake-free football. You know, his stats don't jump off the screen, but no interceptions thrown all year long. If you can take care of the football and win those turnover battles, many times you're actually going to come out here and win football games. And this is, you know, obviously a North Dakota State team that, at least on paper, is the most talented team in all of the FCS. I mean, it's like that in real life. I had to make sure it was like that here in this specific dynasty, at least to start off, right? You know, we'll see what happens as this dynasty progresses. But, you know, all this talk about North Dakota State, there's another team in this football game, though, in Eastern Washington, who fumbles the football. And that's the last thing that you want to do. That's what I was talking about. Turnovers. Turning that football over, losing the turnover battle. You're not going to win many games if you lose the battle on turnovers, as they turn it into a field goal. But Bison down 7-3 early here as we jump into the second quarter, and we see an absolute nuke. Watch to Martin Ramirez, who hasn't seen the ball a ton, as they are more of a run-heavy offense. But that time, they really connected on a huge bomb right there, as Alexander is going to find his receiver again, Ramirez, who gets 2 receptions on the same drive. And the Bison are going to go ahead here and retake the lead. They will be up 10-7. And usually when North Dakota State has the lead, they keep it. As North Dakota State, they have the best defense in all of college football, but it's not showing right now. As Jamal Stallings, man, I've been impressed with what Jamal Stallings has done, especially when he has time in the pocket. So a chance here to either tie this game or maybe potentially take the lead as we jump to 3rd and goal. Stallings throws it into the end zone, and he's going to be intercepted by Daniel Hudson, who gets his first interception of the season here. As Stallings, he wanted that touchdown really bad, but threw it into traffic. Oh, man. We'll see if this defense can hold up here as the Bison are driving downfield. Less than a minute left in the first half. As Alexander, he tries to skid through through his lineman, but Eastern Washington, they send the blitz and keep that pocket contained. So, okay, we go through a half of football. It's still a 1-possession game. It's still a pretty tight, a pretty competitive game. That's exactly what we've been looking for as of right now, as Alexander run the option pretty well, gets it out to Antonio Smith, who does help his team get into field goal position. They get another field goal, and it's the biggest lead of the day for North Dakota State, as they have a 9-point lead here. Jamal Stallings trying to respond here, but he's gonna throw it into double coverage, and Stallings with his 2nd interception of this game. And now we're going to see what kind of mentality does Eastern Washington have. Do they have what it takes to remain in this game? This could be the moment where North Dakota can really start pulling away now, getting that interception and then turning it into a touchdown. Beautiful play action by Brian Anderson, by the way. And that will be the 11th touchdown pass of the season for the young quarterback. As now Jamal Stallings has the desperate task of trying to, keep his guys in the game. Stallings, 5 interceptions on the year, 2 of which coming in this game specifically. He does get a really nice throw in though, but doesn't lead to anything. So the Eagles got to go ahead and punt this football away. And here he goes down the sideline, and he's gonna be gone like a girl in a country song. Touchdown, Bison. And now a 30-7 lead right now. It is a 23-point game. And now Jamal Stallings needs to put a drive together. We'll see if he can get it done. 1st and 10 from the 38-yard line, going into a shotgun formation. Stallings looking. He's going to throw to the left-hand side. He finds his receiver. Another phenomenal catch, as Ricky Garcia now has over 100 yards receiving. The problem for the Eagles, it's the turnovers. They've been moving the football surprisingly well today, but the turnovers been killing them so far. 3 turnovers, 3 scores probably is the difference, but Garcia is going to find the end zone, and they're actually going to go for the 2-point conversion, which unfortunately they did fail. They also go ahead and try to get the onside kick as well, which doesn't work either. So Bison now with the opportunity to go ahead and run some time off the clock, in which, no, wait a minute, it's a play action downfield, and oh my man just got mossed. 26-yard touchdown pass from Brian Alexander. That's touchdown number 12 on the year. And it looks like North Dakota State is still going to remain undefeated, at least in this dynasty here in the inaugural season. As we will go ahead, we'll see what Jamal Stallings can do. Basically garbage time at this point, but honestly, I've been impressed with this quarterback. I thought that this game was going to be ugly. I really did. And while his team doesn't end up winning, he kept his guys competitive. It was a competitive game, so about the second half, but North Dakota State, they will go ahead. They will notch their 5th win of the season. Well, Eastern Washington still struggling to find their footing here in season number 1. They're certainly not soaring like an eagle, as they will fall to 1-4, as we have a final score of 37-19 in favor of the Bison. And again, Eastern Washington, they had more total offense in this game. It just wasn't meant to be for the upset. And we will see the Bison march on through year 1. So this Big Ten matchup between Southeast Missouri State and Murray State is actually the first top 25 matchup that we see in this series that actually features 2 real FCS programs. So definitely a huge game here, and unsurprisingly, a national broadcast kind of game, as Southeast Missouri State and Murray State are currently tied for first place in the new look Big Ten as of right now, as both teams are getting ready to take the field, and definitely a pretty big matchup here, as we will see whoever wins this game is going to put themselves in the driver's seat to win the Big Ten for the remainder of the season. So definitely a big game for both teams here, as we'll go ahead and get things underway here. 2 teams that have really good offenses and, well, not so great defenses, as Glenn Williams throws a dot to the right-hand side into the end zone. And the Red Hawks, led by head coach Ty Bergian, is going to take a early 7-0 lead here, as they'll go ahead and kick things off here to Murray State, their first possession. And Murray State, they're not going to even see their offense on the field, because my main man is going to take this all the way to the end zone. It ends up being, I believe, a 97-yard kick return for a touchdown. So right off rip, his guys all knotted up at 7 apiece. And I got a feeling here, man, we are going to have ourselves a track meet here. Could very well be one of the most exciting games that we watch all season long. And speaking of excitement, how about this run right up the gut here? And it's going to go for a huge first down for the Racers, as they race along here, down 10-7, as Wilson is trying to throw it over the middle, but he throws his 3rd interception of the year, and this might be a pick 6. It's going to be touchdown Red Hawks, and Tyson Witherspoon with his 2nd interception of the season, coming in a huge time right now. As, listen, if Southeast Missouri State wins this game, it's probably because of that stop right there. I'm going to call it right now. And speaking of mistakes, another turnover. So Murray State turns the ball over 2 consecutive times here. And now the Red Hawks can definitely go ahead and possibly make a statement. Glenn Williams, he's feeling himself. 1st and goal from the 5-yard line, but it's going to go to Scott Parrish. And Scott Parrish is going to follow his blockers into the end zone. Touchdown Red Hawks, and a 24-7 lead in favor of Southeast Missouri State, as Murray State does have to punt the football again. Their next drive, honestly, not going anywhere, and this might be going somewhere the opposite direction. It's a One Direction song that is only going one way, and that's to the end zone. A 74-yard touchdown return, and the punting, the special teams, now providing a massive lead for the Red Hawks, 31-7. And the Racers in position. They might be ran off their own field here, but they're not going to give up so easily, as John Wilson throws a fantastic ball down the left-hand side. His receiver almost finding the end zone too. Is now 1st and goal from the 2-yard line. John Wilson, He's going to drop back to pass, and he will go ahead and find his tight end for the touchdown. They will go ahead and also get the 2-point conversion as well. So it does make it a 2-possession game. But Murray State, though, they simply do not have an answer for Scott Parrish, who runs all over this defense, man. 2 touchdowns for Scott Parrish. I don't know what this man needs to do to get into the Heisman race, into that top 5, because he definitely deserves it the way that Scott Parrish has been playing this season. And I don't know if it's just because like his team is not ranked high enough or what's going on, but Scott Parrish is a guy that definitely deserves it. And John Wilson too, man, he's going to be a stud as well. Another 2-point conversion. Gets it down to a 15-point game. We'll see if they go to Scott Parrish, and sure enough they do. I mean, why not? Murray State just doesn't have the horses on defense, as if Scott Parrish just making it too easy. He doesn't even get touched there. His 3rd touchdown of the game, and it's 45-23. But the Racers are not going to give up, at least not so easily. They do find the end zone again here. They don't settle for the extra point. They go for yet another 2-point conversion. Although this time around, they do not get it, unfortunately. So a 16-point game here, and a little bit of trickery here to their star wideouts, who, oh, he tried to hit the step back cheese, but he still got lit up like a Christmas tree, though. But beautiful job setting up the reverse there. Very creative for Murray State. As 3rd and goal, they go to the fullback, who runs like a locomotive, as he ran over that poor defender. I'm sure that defensive coordinator not gonna really like that, man. He's gonna, make sure that man firmly hits the weight room. As it's a 10-point game, the closest that Murray State has made it in a while. But, if they go for the onside kick, running low on time, they don't get it. And, I mean, Scott Parrish ultimately was the difference in this game, if we're being honest. He has, 4 touchdowns in this game? He was absolutely ridiculous. And Southeast Missouri State, led by Coach Ty Bergian, is going to beat Murray State here in one of a historic top 25 matchup here in this FCS Dynasty, in the inaugural season of it that we're running on the series. And a good win for this program, as Southeast Missouri State, they improved to 5-1. While Murray State, man, Murray State, they've played some pretty stiff competition. That's why they were number 24 going into this game. But they're back to 500. They are now 3-3 on the year. So another team that's been getting some pretty considerable attention as of late, some love from the pollsters, is the New Hampshire Wildcats. They come into this one ranked number 13 in the country, but you're playing a conference game. They're playing against Bethune Cookman here. And the Wildcats of Bethune Cookman, we've seen them beat Morgan State. We've seen them lose to Northern Iowa. So they got a couple of games on this series so far. But someone who I'm really excited to watch out for is Carlos Montoya, and how he's going to handle not playing in this game without probably one of the most dynamic weapons in all of college football down here at the FCS level, William Patterson, the wide receiver. Now, we know William Patterson's a beast because he was in the Heisman race at some point, although injuries might prevent him ultimately from receiving that award. But the New Hampshire defense, don't sleep on them either. They are really solid on the defensive end as well, as Montoya throwing dots to start the game and just right into double coverage. This throw had to be perfect, and it certainly was. So now Montoya with the play action here is going to throw across his body. It gets tipped up into the air, and Zach Hodges is going to not only get his first interception of the year, but a rare feat, able to intercept Carlos Montoya. That was Montoya's 2nd interception that he threw all season long, compared to 15 touchdowns. That is a rare feat right there. As we'll go ahead and see if the home team Wildcats can go ahead and try to make something out of that drive, try to respond. But unfortunately, That sack does bring them back to the point where the drive ends up stalling out for them. As now, New Hampshire's offense comes back out onto the field, and Carlos Montoya, he's going to throw a strike over the middle, and it sets up a pretty big gain. Gets them to about midfield, and that's going to have Montoya really feeling himself, going on play action, and a beautiful throw once again in double coverage as he throws it right where only his receiver is able to make a play. So now, 3-0 lead in favor of the Wildcats. We'll see if Montoya can attack the end zone, but he throws yet another interception. Oh no! We have upset alert potentially? You've seen the title. Is New Hampshire possibly gonna go down? They're still in trouble here as Zach Hodges gets 2 interceptions on the day, but their offensive unit can't do anything. They still got a goose egg, and that won't last forever. They need points, and y'all already know what time it is. How? Wow! Wow! Montoya! Triple coverage! He just threw it up there. He pulled the Mahomes like, screw it. Tyreek Hill down there somewhere, prior to him being traded, of course. And that's how New Hampshire gets their first touchdown of the day. It's going to give them a 10-0 lead here. As Bethune Cookman, we know what their strategy is. They're more of an option-based team. But they're down by multiple possessions, so they need BJ Allen to show up here, and there's going to be a nice throw for BJ Allen, who ever since that very first game of the season against Northern Iowa, he has certainly played significantly better. But we'll see if he can show up here. 1:20 left in the first half. Skinner gonna throw this one towards the end zone, and somehow his receiver manages to come down with it. He had pressure right in his face. He let it loose, and his receiver makes a play. So Bethune Cookman does manage to go ahead and cut it to a 1-score game before we go into that halftime locker room. And now the defense is really getting ready to start heating up. Defense come through, gets a huge sack there, as Montoya had all day to throw, and usually that's where William Patterson comes in and really makes something shake here. But I mean, Patterson's not playing in this game, so I mean, it is what it is, right? Like, you gotta, next man up mentality, but he's a dynamic playmaker, man, and that's showing, because this is still a game here, even though Bethune Cookman doesn't have the best record. As speaking of Montoya, Montoya is going to be going down with the sack, and the Wildcats will get their hands on the football once again. We'll see if they can provide themselves the ability to tie things up, but unfortunately, a 3-and-out, and New Hampshire with a chance to have their biggest lead of the day so far. And sure enough, Montoya is going to go ahead and throw his second touchdown of the game. So now a 17-3 game here, as BJ Skinner trying to open his game wide open, and this is the response that they needed. Skinner able to find a huge hole in the defense, and no one was able to catch him. Touchdown Wildcats. And we go into the fourth quarter of action, and it's just a 1-score game. Skinner trying to run to the left-hand side once again, but a untimely turnover. The second turnover of the day. Both teams with 2 turnovers. As now, 17-10 ball game. New Hampshire with some chances here to go ahead and try to run some time off the clock, or we'll just allow Carlos Montoya to throw his third touchdown of the game. So now a 2-possession game here for New Hampshire. They have the lead by, and BJ Allen trying to get his guys to go to work here as they get to the 26-yard line. Expect him to go ahead and move into a no huddle here, as time is of the serious essence right now, as nothing is guaranteed. Skinner getting his troops to the line quickly, Gonna drop back to pass. 1:37 left to play. Looking for the end zone, and it's tipped away. He was looking for his receiver in the back of the end zone. 1-on-1. And the impact corner prevents the touchdown. 3rd and 10. Skinner under center. Gonna drop back to pass. Has a couple of extra blockers. Has a clean pocket. But his receiver fumbles it. That would have put them in a goal line situation. And that might be the moment where truly that fat lady is going to sing. New Hampshire, not with their necessarily most impressive performance. We've seen them play better against teams like Penn out of the Ivy League, for example. But, you know, it's not easy to win in the game of football. And New Hampshire, that's what they did, man. They came out here. They won by a couple of scores. It wasn't the prettiest game, but it still keeps them undefeated, as New Hampshire is going to go ahead and move up to 5-0, while the Wildcats of Bethune Cookman in serious danger of missing postseason action altogether, as this loss will now take them down to 1-5, essentially needing to win out at this point. So we check in on another team that recently jumped into the top 25, McNeese State, who not only making their first appearance in the AP top 25, but also a first time in gameplay, checking out the Cowboys, hailing from McNeese State, as this is a battle of two teams from the SEC East, two teams that are definitely in the race. The Cowboys should be in first place, as they are the only undefeated team remaining in this division, but Texas State has played more conference games. So we'll take a look at Sean Respris. I believe that's Stacy Respris. Y'all let me know how to say that last name in the comments, man. That is gonna give me some problems. We'll just call him Stacy. Well, y'all, I hope y'all are okay with that. But we've seen Citadel before, though, and Citadel got ramsacked by William and Mary in conference play, but coming out the gate here, Citadel playing a lot better, as the linebacker Washington reads the eyes of Stacy, and good thing his girl did not make the trip down to the Citadel, because I think that man just stole Stacy's girl. As now 3rd and long for the Bulldogs of Citadel, looking to get on the scoreboard first, and sure enough, well, how about that circus catch in tight coverage? And it don't even matter, though, as now the Bulldogs inside the 5 and looking to cash it in. Running back's going to get the handoff. Tight coverage, as McNeese State had the line of scrimmage, but they get the end zone touchdown anyways. As looks like one of the offensive linemen for the Bulldogs gets a little bit shaken up here for the Citadel. And McNeese State, they will respond right away, as Stacy is going to pitch it out to the tailback. And he was all by himself, practically untouched. So it's all knotted up at 7 apiece, as Stacy is going to go ahead and throw it out to the perimeter. Oh! Step back cheese, breaking tackles. Whoo, baby. How about that? Putting on the skates out on this defense. And you can hear a mouse fart in this stadium, because they are going silent right now, as another big gain. This almost manages to go for a touchdown, as Irving Leonard is putting in the business as of right now. So now 1st and 10 from the 27, as Stacy is chilling in shotgun formation. We'll see if he throws it. Yes, he does. Stacy throwing across his body. He finds his receiver, as the DB gambles, tries to dive for it to try to get the pass break up, but he doesn't affect the pass. His receiver still makes the catch anyways, and it's an easy touchdown. No one touches him. Make it a 2-score gain. And the last thing that you want to do when you're down by 2 scores, throwing an interception. And not only throwing an interception, but that interception starting these guys out in plus territory. I mean, it looks like this dude just throws it up into the air, and it's an easy interception here. So the Cowboys, they took over. They somehow didn't manage to get any points out of it, as we'll see the Bulldogs go back to work here. Great run of the right-hand side, as the blocking was really fantastic there on that play. It's now 3rd and 5. Stacy dropping back. Citadel did get the field goal, by the way. He's going to throw it over the middle. And look at this. His receiver able to get loose, and Respis gets his guy into the end zone. Touchdown, Cowboys. And it's starting to look pretty secure, or at least so we thought. Down by 18. We'll see if Citadel, one of the worst offenses in college football, we'll see how they can respond. That's a beautiful 2 spin moves. Oh my! One man left a beat. Does he have the speed? He catches him, but he can't wrap him up. Wow! Look at this. 1 spin move, 2 spin moves. He breaks a 3rd tackle later in this run. That has to be one of the greatest runs that we've seen this entire year. So Citadel, they go for the extra point. They get it. And it's a 2-possession game. But look at this. Stacy throws the interception. It's 2nd turnover of the day for the Cowboys. And this one is deadly. And the Bulldogs right back into the game now. Just a 4-point difference. As now Stacy's team comes out on the field and he throws another interception. Just a rough day for Stacy Respis, as Ryan Robertson this time, he ties for the lead among his teammates. That's his 3rd interception of the season. And all of a sudden, we thought this team was possibly dead in the water. Now all of a sudden, we're looking at a team here that could possibly take the lead right now, as Brian Grant, he followed his blockers on the triple option. That almost ends up in a touchdown as well, as Citadel has not seen the red zone that much. Only 7 attempts so far this year, but when they get down here, they tend to come away with points, as the 8th time is going to give Citadel the lead against the number 20 team in college football at the FCS level. And now a 3-point lead going into the 4th quarter. Upset alert. Those alarms are ringing. And now we see this man get loose again. Touchdown Citadel. And we see an upset unfold. The number 20 ranked Cowboys, who put in all of that work to get into the top 25, they probably will not be here when we check the polls at the end of this episode, as they fall to Citadel by a final score of 38-28. And the Bulldogs come out here, despite we didn't see Citadel really pass the ball. They only had 23 yards today, but they will improve to 2-3, while the Cowboys will be suffering their 2nd loss of the year, falling to 3-2. So this week's game of the week features a huge rivalry game out west, out on the West Coast. We got San Diego State and UNLV meeting up. 2 teams that are not only undefeated, but are both ranked inside the top 5 as both teams entering the field. UNLV coming in as the number 4 team in the country, whereas the Aztecs of San Diego State, they come in ranked number 3 in the country, and they are led by their star quarterback, Adam Mosley, who does have 14 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, but Lee Corso doesn't care. He is going with UNLV in this one, as we'll get things underway here for the game of the week that is taking place under the lights. And the Aztecs will strike first. They get a 7-0 lead. Mosley was feeling himself, he thought, but the pocket absolutely collapses around him, and that's a dangerous game, as UNLV does get the turnover, but they don't do anything with it, as we will see their tailback, which I don't remember his name off the top of my head, I'm going to be honest with you guys, but this guy is in the Heisman race, so watch out for that tailback for sure, as it's a 14-0 game here, as UNLV is able to force a second turnover. Jason Stovall gets his first interception of the year, and it's a diving play that has to be done in order for that to happen. Wow. So now, 2nd and goal from the 2, as Mosley is going to go ahead and hand it off. He does the step back cheese made famous in NCAA 14. And San Diego State put in the hurt in UNLV 24-0. How about let's go ahead and make it 31-0. He's going to take this thing all the way down the sideline, and that is going to be a touchdown. So 31-0 on the road, and you could literally hear a squirrel fart in this stadium. This is supposed to be one of the tougher stadiums in America to play in, at least down at the FCS level. But the crowd haven't been much of a factor, although UNLV will eventually get the goose egg off the scoreboard. Don't know if it will affect the final result, but at least it won't be a shutout. That'd be one of the worst things that could happen to you. Getting shut out in a rivalry game, although getting blown out in this rivalry matchup, at least this alliteration of it, still probably does not feel very good by any stretch of the imagination. And San Diego State, they come out and send a message. They win by a final score of 48-14. So another top 10 matchup that we have going down around the country is Eastern Carolina. They are going to be taking on and playing host to the Rice Owls. Both of these teams also currently undefeated and both 4-0 as of right now. This is actually also the first time that we've seen Rice in gameplay, whereas Eastern Carolina, I don't think we've seen them since, I believe, week number 2, when they were featured in the game of the week against Delaware State. But yeah, man, let's go ahead and jump right into it here, as we got a 3rd and inches. Both teams have a lot of guys in that box. Expect to be a huge run up the gut, but he forgot about the football. Oh no, baby, you can't do that. You cannot fumble the football, at least on this side of the field, especially on this side of the field. So it sets Rice up for pretty easy field position, and while they don't move the ball very much because of where they recovered that fumble, it ends up being a field goal. So Rice, they end up having a 3-0 lead here early, as we see yet another turnover. So 2 turnovers already for the Pirates, but Rice not necessarily capitalizing either, as we'll eventually see this man power his way through to the end zone. We finally see our first touchdown of the game, and Eastern Carolina also going ahead and seizing the lead. It's 7-3 in favor of them, as Rice gonna go ahead. He's gonna get it to their star tailback, who finally gets loose in that wing T formation. Don't really see the wishbone much anymore, but back in the mid-2000s, that was an offense that Rice ran, like to try to kill the clock, and it nearly works out for them. Up by 3 points here. All they gotta do is get one more stop, but they can't keep them out of the end zone, no. And with 30 seconds left to go, the Pirates, they seize victory from the jaws of defeat and will win this game in a pretty defensive struggle. As a matter of fact, Eastern Carolina, they will end up winning this game by a score of 17-13. I don't expect Rice to fall very far down, simply because this was a team that, they lost in the final seconds, right? It's a very heartbreaking way to lose, as Rice will be taking their first loss of the year, while Eastern Carolina, they will go ahead and remain undefeated here. They now improve to 5-0 on the season. So with one more game left to play in this episode, let's go ahead and take a look around the NCAA to check out some scores across the country. Starting with some of your guys' custom coaches for year number 1. James Madison, we did not get to see this week, but they had an ACC game against Delaware State and won convincingly 48-10, proving their number 16 ranking. Meanwhile, Central Michigan fell down to number 17 after their second loss of the year, but they bounced back against Morgan State, winning 38-17. As for Southeastern, a tough luck for Southeastern as they got to play against FBS Tennessee from the real SEC conference, and Southeastern will suffer their first loss of the year because of that. Southeastern losing big 41-10. As for Temple, they continue to climb up the rankings as they come in number 9 and proving their worth against the Howard Bison, who still search for their first win of the year. Howard falling to 0-6 after losing 35-3. For the Ohio Bobcats, they got to go on the road to play against a winless Illinois State squad, and Illinois State almost put off an amazing upset. They fall just 1 point short. They had to get 5 unanswered points. Imagine losing by a safety. That's really tough. Illinois State still looking for their first win of the year. As for Troy, though, Troy looks like they are going to fall out of the top 25 after losing at home to an unranked Florida International team, 20-7 being the final score. FIU improving to 4-1. Moving into Big 12 conference play, Mississippi Valley State took on the Southern Jaguars, and the Southern Jaguars were fantastic in this one, winning 42-10, with Southern improving to 3-2, while the Delta Devils fall to 1-4. But we do have a huge upset here in week number 7 as SMU takes their first loss of the year. They lose to William and Mary by a final score of 26-17. Definitely one of the biggest upsets in college football at the FCS level so far this year. You love to see it if you're a fan of the Tribe. As for Idaho, which was relegated to the FCS in real life, they took on St. Thomas in St. Paul, Minnesota. And St. Thomas definitely struggling here in this year number 1 as they lose big 45-6 and still looking for that first win. As for Ball State, they don't have as much trouble as a top 25 team. They beat Western Michigan in conference play, winning 35-25. The Cardinals improving to 4-1, while the Western Michigan Broncos fall to 2-4. As for UCF, they took their first loss of the year recently, but they will end up bouncing back, beating Richmond 40-0. The Spiders falling to 2-3. As for Tulane, who quarterback was featured on the preseason magazine, they're now outside of the top 25, but they will bounce back against Hofstra. Hofstra falling to 3-3 after losing by a final score of 40-3. As for Eastern Michigan, they will retain that number 2 ranking after they beat Western Illinois on the road, winning 38-7. The Leatherbacks falling to 1-4. But Florida Atlantic gets upset in Sun Belt Conference play. They lose to the Raging Cajuns by a final score of 24-19. That top 25 status for the Owls now officially in question. As for Northwestern State, though, they took on Wofford, and Wofford might be the worst team this season. They are now 0-6, and they lose big against Northwestern State, losing by a score of 51-3. It makes you wonder if Wofford will win a game here in year number 1. As for San Jose State, it looks like they will also be falling out of the top 25 as they had WAC conference play against Utah State. They lose in overtime 24-17. The Aggies of Utah State now up to 3-2 after this overtime victory. And then as we get into the later slate games, we see New Mexico State improving to 6-0, beating a winless Northern Colorado team 41-3. Stephen F. Austin, meanwhile, played to go play against Stanford, and Stanford had no mercy for them. Stanford putting up 80 on the Lumberjacks, winning 80-14 against their FCS counterparts. So the final game that I have for you guys in this episode is yet another top 25 matchup between the Arkansas State Indians. They're now known as the they're known as the Red Wolves, actually. Red Wolves, that's what they're called. But they're taking on the number 1 team in college football in this FCS universe, North Texas, who currently sits on top of the Sun Belt, at least tied for first place. A win for North Texas will get them in the sole possession of first place within the Sun Belt Conference. As we'll go ahead and see both these teams coming out in the field, we've got to take a look at Carlos Pierman, of course, one of the better wide receivers at the FCS level, of course. And we'll go ahead and jump right into it, man, as North Texas, they're not going to wait very long at all. Halfway through the first quarter, going to get the running back involved here. He's able to, make a tackle miss in the backfield. So 7-0 game early, but quarterback for Arkansas State, he's going to throw an absolute nuke down the field. There was 3 guys that were there, like in the vicinity, but my man just ran away from all of them and just a perfect bomb, did it in stride. But this was an intriguing game, as this was a lot different than what I was expecting, as not really much happens in this game, to be honest with you. Arkansas State is going to end up winning this game, but it was really like a death by 1,000 cuts for Arkansas State, as they end up kicking 3 field goals in this game, made all 3 field goals, and that ends up being the difference, as North Texas, after the first quarter, they just could not get their offense going whatsoever. So the number 1 team in America, well, that's probably not going to be the case no more. So when we check out the polls after we advance the week, we should see a new number 1 team, as North Texas, they do end up suffering their very first loss of the season, while Arkansas State, they will improve to 4-2. So that closes out all of the gameplay action here for week number 7. As we check out the Sports Illustrated article, as San Diego State, they certainly impressed for sure. However, that being said, is that enough to get them into that number 1 spot? And it is for sure. Wow. So they jump over Eastern Michigan to take the number 1 spot. Eastern Michigan still sitting at number 2, and Eastern Carolina, they jump up to number 3, also receiving a couple of first place votes, followed by Mid Tennessee and Temple rounding out this top 5 as well. However, there is still quite a few undefeated teams remaining. New Mexico State, they're 6-0 as of right now. New Hampshire, they're now in the top 10. They're now number 9 in the country after their 24-10 victory over Bethune Cookman. UNLV, meanwhile, they fall to number 10. North Texas with a huge drop. They fall 10 slots to 11. And then Rice, they lose 6 spots. A last-second score to Eastern Carolina. Man, that is going to kill them a little bit. But we do see James Madison jump up to number 14. They're now 4-1. So the new look ACC doing the best out of all of the FCS conferences that just have FCS teams, if that makes any sense whatsoever. We see SMU fall 13 slots to 18. Southeast Missouri State, after their victory over Murray State, they now are number 19 in the country, and we don't even see Murray State receiving votes at the moment. They fell out of the top 25 due to that loss. And 5 new teams joining: UL Lafayette, Utah State, Alabama State, surprisingly in here. Now, we've seen Alabama State twice in gameplay, and they've been blowout twice in gameplay, but they do beat Texas Southern 29-21, and yeah, they're back. I am actually completely shocked by that. But FIU is back in the top 25, and Kent State, as well as Montana. Montana sneaks in there. They take the 25th spot. They are now number 25 in the country right now. So that does round out the top 25. Meanwhile, for the Heisman Trophy race, as of right now, Brian Brown still sitting on top for the time being, as the senior has almost 1,000 yards rushing already, has 13 total touchdowns. He's been really good so far. But we also have Kerry Williams, the senior quarterback out of New Mexico State. Big win over Northern Colorado. Richard Wade, which we saw in gameplay today, he moves up to number 3. And then Jamar Harden, gets back into the top 5 after his performance against Morgan State. That being said, Ikeda Woods still hanging on. He's the only person that drops in the Heisman race. He's now sitting at number 4 as of right now. But the freshman quarterback continuing to impress, even though, he didn't put up the best stats, still ends up with over 200 yards of offense, 2 touchdowns to his name. So Ikeda Woods, man, he's going to be a star here in this FCS universe. Can't wait to see how he plays next year. Although next year he does become draft eligible, so that'll be really interested to see how all of that plays out. But he's a very good looking player. But that's going to wrap things up here for week number 7, and I hope you enjoyed the content. Next week we move on to now basically the halfway point of the regular season, week number 8. It's been a really exciting season so far, but I think there's some great games in the books still that needs to be played, and I hope you guys are ready for it. If you are, make sure you go ahead, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button as well. If you happen to be brand new to the channel, shoot, even hit me up down in the comments section. I love reading all your guys' comments. But with that, this is John J Gaming on the mic signing off for this episode of the FCS Dynasty. And I hope you're all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.